You only have tech people. Hey, welcome back. We got Brett, our CEO from Yoni Health Tech Inc. and U Art Holdings LLC. And myself, I am also the co-founder of said organization and Young Powers and Associates LLC. And we have Leah K. Ellis. Leah, introduce yourself.
Like you said, I'm Leah K. Ellis. I am the founder and executive director of the Society of Child Entrepreneurs, a nonprofit that teaches financial literacy, leadership, and entrepreneurship to kids 6 through 17.
That's awesome. Brett is our host, and Brett, lead it off.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so can you give us kind of a history, of course, let's for our overall listeners too, Leah, as to kind of your overall journey, through this overall realm before you became where it is you're at, before because we have to say that there's got to be, hopefully, there's chapters that led up to this, and if you can also speak, I guess, to this is my own request here too, not just at yourself, but I think when we're discussing such matters too, if we can discuss just relationships as well, community, institution, organization, society, and that world too, as the end. If you'd like, in whichever way you'd like too. So take us away.
Years and years ago, before COVID, so in 2019, I owned an in-home childcare and I taught engineering curriculum to 3-year-old girls. And I ran a daycare out of my house and I loved it and it was amazing. And then in August of that year, we discovered 10 years worth of black mold in the walls of a house I had only owned for 18 months. And obviously, we couldn't continue to run a daycare there because we were cutting out our walls and going through full remediation processes. So my daughters and I moved into temporary housing into a hotel while my husband was deployed and my house was getting rebuilt. Finally, in January of 2020, our house was finished and my husband and my kids moved back into our house January 31st. February 1st, my husband left on another deployment. I'm like, that's okay. March 17th, we scheduled our grand reopening for our daycare so we could run back into business. We also lived in Los Angeles County at the time, which means March 17th was the exact day they issued our stay-at-home order. And nobody came to our grand reopening. In fact, we did not reopen. By April, we were not going to be able to reopen. The city had provided a free for essential workers child care center within walking distance of my house. So then I became $200 a week competing with free. There was no coming back from that for us at that point. So we decided to launch a financial coaching company. And I started watching business training videos on the living room TV while I was supervising my 1.5-year-old and my 4-year-old. And it was only, I don't know, 2-3 weeks of doing that before my 4-year-old came to me and said, Mommy, I want to start a business too. And like any reasonable parent, I looked at her and said, no way, you're 4. And if you've spent any time around a 4-year-old, you know that their favorite question in the whole world is why. And I had no answer for her. I didn't have a reason why she couldn't. I just thought that she couldn't. So stuck at home during COVID, unsure what was going on with our world at that point, I said, you know what, fine. You can start a business too. What are you going to do? So she launched her first business, Melody Paints, in April of 2020 when she was 4.5 years old. It was amazing. As the world reopened, as we were able to have more opportunities, her business got bigger. She was a featured artist in our city's art show. She had so many amazing experiences. And then we moved from Southern California back to Kansas. And when we moved here, we hosted a children's business fair as kind of a way to introduce ourselves to our new community and see what was going on here. And after that event, we realized that we had a group full of kids who really wanted to learn about business and a bunch of consumers who wanted to support children running businesses. And then we sent everybody home with no follow-up, no continuing education, no developing their skills. And as somebody who had been in education, that didn't work for me. So I convinced some of my very brave friends to come on to be our founding board of directors and found the Society of Child Entrepreneurs, who now we get to teach this to hundreds of kids instead of just my kid. We have programs in multiple cities and hopefully within the next year or so, multiple counties or states. And we're really starting to see what happens when we teach kids entrepreneurship instead of just teaching kids what to think at school.
Yeah. And from there to here, I just want to really acknowledge that. And thanks for sharing that with us, being able to, and again, I'm sure there's more. I want to acknowledge, I'm sure there's more along the way too, and things and people and events and whatnot to lead you here. I think what really kind of stood out in the story was, at least for me, and I just had the question that's really there too. And David, I want to hear all your reflections from this too. But from what's there for me was when you said the why. So I think that's a real big thing. And I think and maybe that's the thing that most people would want to know around that is not just the curiosity, but then knowing the why. And then I think it was then where you did finally have the interest, right? This is what's kind of sticking out. There's a lot of things that stick out. And I could ask a lot of different questions here. Is the saying in the matter, I think was what it would lead to, right? So in your class, if people, and again, I don't want to, you don't have to give it all away here too, would be the why. Did you address the why that you were up against? Because that's something to have someone really come to you, and then you have, you're up against the why, and then the say in the matter that occurred after. Could you walk us through how that kind of went,
So
or
I
how it
think
goes? Sorry, how it goes. Either one.
when people come to me, and because they say, why am I teaching entrepreneurship to kids? There's two big things we get. One, why are we doing that when they're 6? Because they need to be focusing on like learning how to read. And 2, we get, I don't support child labor. I don't believe we should be forcing kids to work. And so I will explain to people that child labor is when an adult forces a child to work so that the adult can benefit from the child's work. That is bad. We don't do that. Nobody approves of that. Don't do that. Child entrepreneurship is when a child works for the child's idea, for the child's benefit, and the adults are not in the picture. We are out of the way. It is the child is running it. And that is what we do. And it is because the why, when we teach our children now that they can use their voice, that they can solve problems, and they can make an impact in their community, we don't have to recover lost confidence in our adults. We don't have to teach them how to care about their community because they never gained that apathy in the first place. So by building these skills when they're young and they already have them, we don't have to recover or reteach or battle it as adults.
Right, and beyond the why too. No, I get where you're at with that, and I just want to acknowledge here, and again, I can kind of speak for the kid, right? I tried to remain a kid at heart as well. I'll acknowledge that about myself, is being able to still kind of find that answer, right, to that why, right? Because some people, I don't doubt it, even who wanted to start a business or at whatever stage they may be at in their life, they got that why, right? The hanging why may be the answer for it, right? Trademark that, Leah. Oh my gosh. But either way, it's not about me. I think the interesting part is being able to see that because I think there's the impact on mental health too. I want to acknowledge this too. In society throughout corporate business everywhere in the world, there's been that impact on the youth, right? And their impact because some of them I think are asking that right question. I think the right question I think is the why, and as to whether or not they give the answer. And I want to acknowledge that you gave your child delight around the why. I don't know what the direct answer was, right? Around it, but yours was I think a reapproaching to see the interest and see what could be created around that, around your supervision, but allowing their ideas to exist too. So yeah, is that, I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Is that,
Yeah.
or
And
was
I
there
think,
more, was there more when she had said why and you finally went back and reapproached and then answered for that? Was there?
no, it really was like she said why, and I was like, I don't know. Fine.
Did
And
you,
because
did you
that's
circle back? I didn't know.
like, no, that was that conversation. And then the next conversation was, what are you going to sell and how are you going to do it? And
Okay,
then it
got
was,
it.
start telling me your ideas. And that kind of comes into first with the mental health stuff. 7-year-olds don't have imposter syndrome. 7-year-olds think they're going to grow up to be superheroes. But then we put them through schools and through systems and through other peers and adults and their opinions. And we create adults with imposter syndrome because they feel like they're not good enough for the situations and the places that they're in. But if we teach child entrepreneurship now, we teach these leadership skills when they're kids, by the time they reach adulthood, they haven't developed imposter syndrome. We don't have to worry about what their confidence is like. We know that they're brave enough to speak up when something needs to be spoken for. But it also comes from part of our philosophy is that adults don't say no, adults ask how. So when the kids come to us with wild ideas of businesses that they want to start, ideas that they think would be cool, projects they want to do, we don't say no, even if we think it is absolutely outrageous. We ask how. And it might be a very pointed how. Because if a kid tells me, I want to go to Mars, my how is going to be, how are you going to get through our atmosphere? There's question number one. How are you getting through our atmosphere? Question number two. How are you going to eat once you get there? How are you going to make sure your machinery keeps your life sustained? How do all of these things happen? I could say no. No, you're not going to Mars. You're 10. You can't create a way to get to Mars at 10.
Yeah.
But then all I've
And
done
they
is
may get that on
eliminate.
the street or from another area of social structure. So you guys want to exist within a different area outside of the normal, I don't know if that's a term you want to use, Julia, correct me if I'm wrong,
Right. Yeah.
social structure so they can still express, right, whatever this is that they want as an idea and then kind of really see it for themselves, right?
Right. And we
Right.
break
And I
that
just want
status
clarity
quo.
too. I don't, sorry, is it a class?
We do. We have classes, we have camps, we have after school programs. Yeah, we spend a lot of time with these kids. But it's also, I mean, for me, it's our philosophy in life. I mean, in our house, it's not no, it's how, it's when. Do you think now's the right time for that? Who's responsible for it? And it isn't just, no, you can't do that. No, that's too difficult. No, I don't want one more thing on our to-do list, because that's really easy to default to as a parent. But instead, if you say, I understand that you want to have a sleepover with 3 of your friends, how are you going to make sure that the space you want your friends to be in is an acceptable condition to make sure your friends are there? So then I'm not saying, no, you can't have a friend. I'm saying, how are you going to make it so that you can have a friend here?
Yeah, allowing them to kind of create a path and then kind of, yeah, and then someone aside from their day to day, right? All right, I want to pop over to David too for questions. You've been great. Thank you. I want to acknowledge it so far. Thank you for that. David, yourself, what's there for you?
So you mentioned engineering. What came over from the engineering program that you did in your daycare to your business entrepreneurship, which is fascinating. That's awesome. Um, I feel, because I've been in the education system as a substitute teacher for the Philadelphia School District area, and they were fed stuff that I wasn't taught when I went through K through 12. Granted, that is now 27 years ago. So we had to learn cursive and writing and speaking. We also needed to learn how to speak to it, because if it wasn't, it would be beating the shit out of our rear ends and whatnot. And it was a different era. I get that, but
No, that's what we're
that's
up against too.
what
Yeah,
that is what was expected and anticipated when I was that age. Uh, I don't think that our education system is up to date to what kids need today as an 18-year-old going into the job field or business field. Uh, Notwithstanding, there is no financial education system in our country. We deliberately do not talk about it in our schools. So how are you teaching financial literacy that doesn't freak out their parents? Because, oh my God, what are you teaching my kids? Why are you teaching them money? Money does not grow on trees. Oh my God, I'm sick and tired of hearing about the deficit, or I'm sick and tired of hearing someone else is getting wealthy off my back, blah, 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 blah. And I work for Civic. I've been doing taxes for 17. Why is the government not spending my money that I pay through my taxes, and why can't I have a say? But then no one votes in the primaries and the general elections, and then we don't, it's a vicious cycle. So how are
And then
you
some may want to
teaching
start a
us?
business.
Well, how are you teaching our kids from a young age to be, I want to say, discovering, or young boys go out into the creek and they pull out a snake egg or whatever. You know, how are you teaching them that through your education?
So I heard you cross through the engineering curriculum, the financial literacy curriculum, and being civically engaged. So I'm going to try and answer all three. So the first one, how does the engineering curriculum that we used with our daycare relate now to what we're teaching here? I think the big overarching thing is that both programs teach kids to ask questions and solve problems. It comes from looking around you at what is there, what isn't there, what do you wish was there, what do you wish wasn't there, and what can you do to solve those problems? And that's engineering and that's entrepreneurship. How do you fix it? So that's kind of where that kind of mindset of problem solving and having an open mind translates both in the engineering curriculum and in entrepreneurship programs. The next one, financial literacy. As I mentioned, before I was the Society of Child Entrepreneurs, I owned a financial coaching company. So I take financial health and wellness and education very seriously. When I taught grown-ups, every grown-up said, nobody taught this to me when I was a kid. So I wrote a program to teach this to kids. And we teach our kids, you know what? You have to earn money through something. As long as it's legal, I don't need the details. Earn your money. Once you've earned your money, in order to be financially healthy, you must do three things with that money. You must spend some, you must save some, and you must give some away. I don't care to whom you give it away. I don't care if you use it to buy gifts for your family, donate to a nonprofit, give it to your church. Don't care. But you need to know that it is okay to hold your money with an open palm and give some of it away, knowing that you will earn more and you will be replenished, but you will also be a member of your community. So you must give some away. You must save some of your money because it will not always be today. And when tomorrow comes, you're going to wish you had money. So you need to save some. And when you're a child, that is very easy. You put money into a savings account. When you get older, you start doing things like investing and buying mutual funds and all of those things. And I don't care what name you give your savings, you must save some of your money. And then the last one is you must spend some of your money. You work very hard for the money that you have earned, and that means you have earned the opportunity to do silly, frivolous things with that money without guilt or shame. You're allowed to buy an ice cream cone simply because it looked yummy. You're allowed to spend a little bit of your money without guilt because you have created a system in which you have already prepared your savings and your giving to make sure that your tomorrow is taken care of and you're enjoying your life now. Because it is not, oh, suffer today for joy tomorrow. It is suffer today, suffer today, and joy tomorrow, because suffering and joy are part of every aspect of your life at different times. So that's how we teach financial literacy and teaching spend, save, give, and making sure you reach all of your financial goals. And then the last one with voting and civic engagement. This one's really important to me because we do teach leadership. I don't think you can be a leader in your community if you're not also a member of your community who's using your voice to make sure that the things that matter to you are being addressed. That means a good leader votes, a good leader attends city council meetings and visits their state house if it's necessary to make sure that their voice is heard. That is an important part of being a leader. So, yes, if you're a leader in a business, that is a title you hold. CEO, founder, executive director, whatever. That's a title you hold as a leader. And you are modeling what you want other people to do. But leader is also an activity that anybody, regardless of their title, gets to be a part of when they use their voice to say what matters to them. Because then other people know that it's safe to say that it matters to them too. And that means sometimes the kids in our program do really outrageous things like go to the Kansas State House of Representatives and testify about bills that they want to see passed at 7 or 10 years old. We teach that when you're an entrepreneur, you should be a civically engaged entrepreneur, and you should probably be using some of your business's give money to make your community a better place. And yes, your business also has to spend, save, and give. And that give is making your community a better place for the people who are your consumers, because you need them and they need you. And then one of our stories to kind of show how seriously we take this civic engagement. A few months ago, my daughter walked into my office and greeted me, not with hello, not with how are you, not what was your work day like, but with, I need to go to city council. Oh, why? Are we going to city council? Well, we need a new crosswalk because the crosswalk is not in a good place. And if they painted a crosswalk in this location instead, it would be safer and easier to get from school to your office. Fair, valid. We did some research on like the walking times, the traffic patterns. She stood on a chair at the podium and read her letter to the mayor at a city council meeting during citizens' comments. There is no minimum age on being able to speak during citizens' comments at a city council meeting. If you have a thought or an opinion, you can go share it. And that also means for the kids. They're also allowed to say, as a child growing up in this community, who you want to retain in this community because you don't want our city to disappear because we've all moved away. These are the things that we want to see happening in this community so that we stay. So I think I answered all three questions.
Wow,
Okay,
yeah.
Brett.
Look at that. No, and that's I am so I'm moved. That's truly moving. Leah. I just want to acknowledge that. To literally see that and to see there's lots of questions around this too. And I want to pop this over to David. All the research were you asked in any way, shape, or form to research any of this before she had come to you, or did you already have like a system set up pre-existing with her as to any kind of thing that would to come up? All right, David, can you close us?
So it's somebody, anybody, nobody.
I didn't catch it. Can you repeat it?
It's somebody, anybody, nobody, everybody. Which one are you going to?
Who do I want to be?
That's the quote. Yeah, it's the quote.
Oh.
Yeah, it's who our listeners will get to pick. I think that's what you're trying to say too, David, right?
Yeah, it's you did the thing that somebody could, anybody could do. Nobody wants to, and everybody wishes to.
And
So go out and
it's amazing.
We all wanted to say something. Okay, go ahead.
It's just amazing to see what the next generation is capable of, and we don't have to wait for them to be grown-ups. So letting them start practicing it now creates a better future for all of us.
And how else can people reach you, Leah?
The best place to find us is socieict.org. That will take you right to our website. You can find everything we do on there.
Sounds great. Thank you again. Appreciate your time, all of you, and thank you all listeners. Appreciate it. Oh,
Yes,
check out our newsletter as well. We have a newsletter
Wonderful.
now with 1,000 subscribers.
Woo!
And
Awesome.
we
Have
are
a wonderful day,
raising
guys.
$100 million. Have a great day.